All right, so I am getting ready here to bring on our very first author. Our first author is Mark Commerlore. And Mark, got a little bit of an echo there. Mark wrote a book, a chapter called The Power in Letting Go, NLP and the Courage of Surrender. Mark is a human potential consultant with over 27 years of experience in counseling and coaching. He now empowers high-achieving entrepreneurs, executives, and leaders to achieve personal breakthroughs. As founder of Mark Commerlore Coaching and Consulting, he is a master success coach, NLP master practitioner, and Mark's holistic, transformative approach makes him a sought-after expert in personal development. This chapter explores the transformative power of surrender, showing that letting go is not weakness, but a courageous path to clarity, strength, and fulfillment. Mark explains how true acceptance, intuitive action, and community collaboration can help us move beyond resistance, anxiety, and control. He offers practical guidance on planning from a place of trust, embracing uncertainty, and living authentically. The chapter encourages readers to adopt surrender as a mindset, promising greater abundance, joy, and meaningful connection in life. Mark, welcome.
Thank you, Michael, for having me. It's good to be here, and I'm excited just because you and I kind of share a similar hometown area. I know you're a Tustin guy. I'm an Orange, California guy. So
yep,
it's good to be here.
Yep, great. It's great to have you here. So tell us what was it that encouraged you to write a chapter in this book, The Courage to Win?
Well, it's funny. I've got lots of letters after my name from a formal standpoint in terms of academic training and so forth. And I think shifts in lifestyle with the pandemic, and just as people get a little bit older, they look for things that are a little bit different. So I sought my own personal development journey a few years ago, and I really love all aspects of the mind, and found myself getting into the NLP world, and just love the fact that it has a quick, easy way to fix things. So many people with traditional therapy methods find that they're in it forever. It's almost like a lifestyle to be involved in therapy, and the NLP idea is something that's quick and easy. So I just love the fact that I was able to do that, and along that journey I found that I've always been a bit of a controller, like to have control of the action and so forth, and sometimes just letting go is the easiest way to see things happen.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny, in my personal journey, there was a point where I came across the word surrender, and I vehemently opposed that word because I thought that surrender meant giving up. And so in your chapter, you actually redefine surrender as a form of empowerment rather than weakness. So can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, correct. I mean, and that's the same thing too. I mean, I come from a football background, athletics, and just the fact that you are have to be competitive. And I grew up, men don't cry, they don't show weakness and any of those things. So it was a foreign concept for me. And then I just started realizing that there's more to it. Done a lot of work on myself, done a lot of work with other people to help them really find their beingness. And when you let that come to the focus, there's a concept of be, do, have, as opposed to what many people think is a have, do, be kind of mindset. And so just being your essence, I believe wholeheartedly we're put on this earth in a perfect form, in the perfect condition, and we unlearn that somewhere along the way, just with life and other people's stories. So kind of just taking a breath and surrendering to that, remembering who you are.
Mm-hmm. I love that. You emphasize in your chapter the importance of acceptance as a powerful choice instead of resignation. So talk about the difference between acceptance and resignation when it comes to surrender.
For me, I think a lot of it comes from a whole victim versus a victor mindset. When you come from a position of power, resignation is like you've given up and you're not attempting, you're not going to do anything anymore. You just kind of resign to the fact that it's over. Acceptance is maybe more of an idea of, I've taken the responsibility. I know this happened, and look, there's another way that this can, go forward. I was watching, yesterday's replay because I wasn't able to be on live, and I know Thomas Edison comes up in the light bulb. That's an idea of if he would have stopped after his first failure, that's a resignation. He accepted that he didn't do it right the first time or the first couple hundred times. And then, we're sitting here in well-lit rooms because he didn't give up.
Yeah, it's that's such a great story, and think about it. Like, if Thomas Edison had not persisted, where would we be today? Right? We'd probably all be using candles still. And that's the thing, is that so often it's just that persistence, that resignation. Not resignation. That's not the word I'm thinking of. Resilience, right? Resilience is a big part of it, but you don't have to keep trying the same thing that isn't working over and over again to be resilient.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I mean, definitely resilient is a huge key. That's one of the other things in areas that I focus on. Spent a large portion of my career working with high school age kids as a school guidance counselor, and aside from getting these kids into college, there's kids that have all kinds of traumatic life experiences that they're overcoming, and to sit and look at some of the backstories. And Michael, you share your story really well, and a lot of the things. It's truly a resilience piece, because there are so many people that could just throw in that towel and say, no, I'm done with this. But getting up, getting and moving forward. I kind of focus on different things, and for me, this is a make moves May is my theme that I'm using, kind of out there. And really, it is, movement doesn't have to be massive. It just has to be, something that is taking place. And that's something that I think is really important.
Yeah, that's really powerful. It's been kind of a theme of chapters in this book, is that, hey, massive action is fantastic, but sometimes the biggest change actually come from small, consistent steps.
Yeah, no, and for you can see here in the background, I've got a picture. It's a Jeep that I do. I do a little off-road racing. I'm an avid golfer, and I think that they're the same, because with golf, it's you play the shot that's in front of you. I mean, we all want to have that perfect 300-yard drive right down the middle. And unless we're Scotty Scheffler or maybe Tiger Woods in his heyday, that doesn't happen all the time. Sometimes we're having to punch it out backwards from the trees, and it's still, you haven't given up. You're going forward. The racing that I do a lot of work, kind of in flat grounds, and we're going really fast, and the engine's screaming at 5,500 RPMs, doing 95 miles an hour on a lake bed, and it feels great. And then, there's times where I'm going 5 miles an hour in silt that's 2.5 feet deep, and I'm doing 5,500 RPMs and feeling like you're not going anywhere. But if you stop there, you're going to be digging yourself out for the next 4 or 5 hours.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I think, like a big difference, just to bring up the golf metaphor, right? A big difference between surrender and giving up. Let's say you hit the ball over into the woods, right? And the hole is on the other side of a tree, and you just keep hitting the ball toward that tree to get it to the hole. There comes a point where you have to surrender and realize that tree's not going to move for you, right? You don't surrender and give up on trying to get to the hole, right? You shift the way that you're doing things, right? You accept that the tree's not going to move, surrender to that, shift what you're doing, and then you begin to make progress again.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. You talk about something in your book which is really interesting, and I love dichotomies like this, paradoxes like this, but you talk about action through inaction. Explain what that means, taking action through inaction, and what kind of practical steps people can do to start trusting their intuition and allowing inspired action to, naturally emerge.
Yeah, for me, and it is one of those dichotomies. I'm kind of that same way. I like twists on words. I like dichotomies, but for me, again, it's kind of a mindset. Most of us, think in that have do be kind of concepts, where I have to show up and put all this work in. I'm going to do that, and then when I'll do that, or kind of the do be have. I'm doing this, I have this, and then, it makes me happy. Whereas if you come from the position of you just are, you're in your beingness, then whatever you do, you're going to have, and it's not conditional on those pieces. So, I do some work where we go back and and find or remember who you really are, kind of a spiritual contract, so to speak. And that spiritual contract, for me, for example, you might be able to see at the bottom of my screen, I got a little plaque there, says joy, but I'm joy, and that's my essence. I am joy no matter what, whether, I've got, $1 million in the bank or whether I owe $1 million, I'm still joy. You're not able to take that away from me. But if I go from the mindset of I want to be joyful and I've got to have $1 million in my bank to do that, then all these things really, kind of limit you. And so it creates that paralysis, in some way.
Yeah, that's so powerful. Conditional joy, right? I mean, I think that is a definite destroyer of happiness when you have conditional joy.
Yeah.
Really, any positive emotion being conditional. And that's one of the things that, is taught in the field of NLP is you can have any emotion you want at any time you want. You don't have to wait for something outside of yourself to give it to you. It's so empowering. So you mentioned in your book, you mentioned planning from a place of surrender rather than rigid control. And I know, there are certain personality types like me. I'm a perceiver. I'm totally cool with that. And there are certain people who have the judger personality type where they have to control and plan everything, right? So how can someone align their goals and their plans with intuitive wisdom while staying productive and focused?
Well, I think it's really critical. And it's funny. I was a judger for a long time, and then starting on doing this work, doing, speaking from a Myers-Briggs standpoint, redid the assessment and became more of a perceiver. Now, I don't think it was a hardcore shift from one extreme to the next, because I think there's grades that go along with it. But really knowing that having a plan is important. I used a lot of times with my kids, talking with them in classrooms, is that quite honestly, if I want to go from here to, let's say, Florida, I'm in California, there's a number of ways for me to get there. I can put in, the most direct way, but if I want to see sights and so forth, I might be zigzagging across the United States. If I have to get there for an emergency situation, probably going to take an airplane. That's going to be the quickest route. Heck, I could even hop on a ship and sail, down around through the Panama Canal or even farther. So I think that's the idea of, having a plan of surrender. Just knowing what your intention is really going to be the biggest critical piece. And then once you have that, you can plan from there.
And one of the things I will throw in as a high perceiver is the adventures you can have along the way. Right. Sometimes, Kayla and I traveled for 5 years, and sometimes the best adventures we had was when we let go of our rigid plans and we just decided to wing it and do something crazy,
Yeah. And I'll tell you, the Jeep racing, I started that with my son when he was getting out of high school, just to have a connection with him. And our very first race, we broke down. We were doing really good. Neither one of us knew what the heck we were doing. Didn't even have all of the equipment in there. Should have had a first aid kit, and that's about the only thing we did because we needed it for to repair a finger and everything. We broke down in this desert wash on the side of the road, and the road was literally 100 yards away from us. We could have hopped on there and just cruised back home easily, and otherwise we just kind of went 15 miles an hour. We hit the finish line, and they said, "Congratulations, you're third." And it was like just amazing, what you could do. And we have great stories as a result of that.
I love it. So we are here today promoting our brand new book called The Courage to Win, Shift Your Mindset, Conquer Every Obstacle. Mark is a co-author in the book and has an absolutely amazing chapter on surrender. And so, Mark, if people want to work with you, who do you like to work with? How do you help people? And how can people work with you or follow you?
Well, playing on that Jeep thing, I like to work with people that are stuck. And there's a lot of us that have some limiting beliefs and so forth. I've worked from, teenagers all the way through adults. And so anybody who's wanting to look for something more better or different in their life is really what I want to do. Help them to realize what's possible. And, easiest way to get a hold of me is through, my website there. It's listed down on the bottom of the screen. It's markcameralore.com. You can find me on my socials at Mark Cameralore, social, Instagram and Facebook as well. And just grateful to be able to be part of this collaboration here. Community is really big for me. And I'm just happy to be part of the Transform Destiny community, the Authority Alliance community, and looking to just continue to grow.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mark. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.